Hello, my students out there. It's another wonderful day. We thank God for another opportunity to have another lesson. It's still Mrs. Helen Okereke, and the subject is English language, as you all know. And the topic we'll be treating today is sentence elements, known as Svcoa. I take it again. We'll be discussing sentence elements, known as Svcoa. Okay. Now, what is a sentence? Before we go into what a sentence is actually, it's necessary for us to know the objectives of the lesson. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to, have anyway, we're going to have a summary of what a sentence is. I know you've been taught about that, but we'll still have a recap of what a sentence is and probably few examples. Then you should be able to identify the sentence elements known as Svcoa. I know some of you might be wondering, what is Svcoa? Is this a kind of formula or what? So by the time we are through, you'll be able to understand, identify, most importantly, Svcoa. Then you should be able to identify these elements. You should be able to, define these elements. The Svcoa, you should be able to define them. Then explain them, not just defining them, you explain them with examples. This is English language, so we do it with a lot of examples. So you'll be able to explain them with examples. Okay. What is a sentence? A sentence is a group of words with a verb or verb group which makes a complete sense or conveys a complete thought. A sentence is a group of words with a verb or verb group which makes a complete sense or conveys a complete thought. In other words, a sentence should be meaningful. Before we can say a group of words or an expression is a sentence, it must be meaningful. A sentence should be divided into subjects and predicates. A sentence should have subjects, most importantly, and a verb or verb group. So we have some examples like, I'll be there soon. That's a sentence, a declarative sentence, or a simple sentence, as the case may be. Who are you? That's an interrogative sentence. And then so many other examples. Okay. Now back to our major topic, Svcoa. Now there's something we call sentence elements, and these are the sentence constituents, or we can say sentence elements are the constituents of a complete sentence. In other words, in a complete sentence, these 5 elements must be visible before we can say that they are a complete sentence. So we call them Svcoa, meaning subject, verb, complement, object, and adverbial or adjunct. There are subjects, verb, complement, object, and adverbial or adjuncts. We can use them interchangeably. We can say adverbial and or adjuncts. Some textbooks will say adverb, some will say adjuncts. So whichever one, just know that an adjunct performs the role of an adverbial. Okay. So we say that in every sentence, the SV, that's subjects and verbs, are compulsory for the expression to be a complete sentence. Svcoa, in Svcoa, the SV are compulsory, while COA are optional. So that gives us SV. Then in brackets we have COA, because COA are optional. That means complement, object, adjuncts. are optional, while subject and verb are compulsory. In other words, in a sentence can just consist of SV, and it can make sense. For example, I can say Jesus wept. In Jesus wept, it's just two words making up that sentence. So we have Jesus as a subject and wept as a verb. So that makes it a complete sentence. Okay. So like I said earlier, the sentence elements are the SVCOA. SV are compulsory, while COA are optional. Okay, we are moving forward. Now, what is the subject? The subject is a group of words. Okay. Sorry, the subject of a sentence is who or what has been talked about. It can be a word or a group of words. But the subject of a sentence is who or what is being talked about. In a sentence, okay, we can also say that the subject of the verb is the doer or performer of the action performed by the verb, the action of the verb. The subject can be the doer or the performer of the action of the verb in a sentence. Okay. Now, please, I want you to pay very close attention to what I'm saying, because there are some information that are not in the lesson or in the notes, but as I'm explaining, I'll be bringing them out. So you need to pay attention so that you can add them up with what you have in the notes. Okay. So a subject can be a noun. Subject of a sentence can be a noun. Like I said, it can be a word or a group of words. So it can be a noun phrase. It can also be a noun clause. Sometimes a gerund can be the subject of a sentence. Sometimes it can be a pronoun. So when we talk about the characteristics or features of a subject, we can say the subject is the performer or the doer of an action. The subject could be a noun phrase, noun clause, gerund, or a pronoun. A sentence can also, subject could be stated or implied. What do we mean by that? A subject rather, could be stated or implied. For example, when I say, Mark has swept the class. Mark has swept the class. So in this sentence, the subject is stated, is expressed. So we know that Mark is the subject of the sentence. But when I say, shut up. Sometimes when you ask students to identify the subject in the sentence, they will tell you that there is no subject. Of course, there is a subject, but the thing there is that the subject is implied. So it's unexpressed. Sometimes we will say unexpressed. Some will say, implied. So when you say shut up, the subject we have there is you shut up. So you, in bracket, is implied. It's not stated. So you're not seeing it. So a subject could be stated or implied. Okay. A subject could be a word or a group of words. Okay. Sometimes a subject, like I said earlier, that the subject is the performer. But in some cases, it's still in passive voice. We have two types of voice. We have the active voice and the passive voice. In the active voice, the subject is a doer. But when it moves to the passive, you now discover that the subject will now become the sufferer. In this case, the subject will not take the place of the object, while the object takes the place of the subject of the sentence. So examples of subjects, we said Mark has swept the class. Mark is a noun and the subject of the sentence. We can also say the students have swept the class. The students there is a noun phrase. So we can say our subject is a noun phrase. Okay. Okay, and you can also say he swept the class. When I say he swept the class, that means the subject there is a pronoun. So now we know that the subject is the performer or the doer of the action in the sentence. We also say is who or what has been talked about. So it can be a person, it can be an object, it can be anything, it can be our subject. We also say that a subject can be a noun phrase, can be a noun clause, a gerund, or a pronoun. I hope you're understanding what we're saying. Chijindo, are you there? I hope you're following Destiny. I hope you're also following. Please pay close attention. Okay. Now we have the verb. The verb indicates action or state of being or existence. Gone are those days where we simply say a verb is an action word or a doing word. Because when you say a verb is an action word or a doing word, that means you're missing out some aspect of verbs. For example, when we say is not indicating an action. Okay? Has does not indicate an action. So we now say that a verb is a verb is an action word or a doing word. It can also be a state of being or existence or position. So we have examples. We have different kinds of verbs. We have the lexical verbs. We have the lexical or main verbs. We have the helping or auxiliary verbs. We have finite and non-finite verbs. We have different kinds of verbs. Remember we treated that in I think that should be first term, second term. So if you go back to your notes, you will understand what I'm talking about. So we have examples. We have she has a book. So has there is a verb, even though it's an auxiliary verb, it's function as a lexical verb. Okay. We have the sun rises. The sun rises. Okay, rises is the verb. We have he was punished. So that's also we have two verbs in that sentence. He was punished. Was punished. We have was as the helping verb and punished as the lexical verb. Okay, so like I said earlier, the SV, that's the subject and the verb, are very important aspects of a sentence. They must be there for a sentence to be meaningful. Okay, so without S and V, that means we don't have a complete sentence or expression. Okay, now we are moving over to complement. So we say that when the predicate contains verbs of incomplete predication, it requires a word to complete the meaning. So the word that completes the meaning is called a complement. The main verb of incomplete predication is called a complement. The main verb of incomplete predication are be, seem, appear, look, become, grow, feels, etc. There are so many examples. Okay, so we have Amaka is a teacher. Amaka is a teacher. Okay, so we have the complement there is a teacher and not is. The complement there is a verb. So we have Amaka as a subject, is as a verb, then a teacher as a complement. So we can ask, what is Amaka? Or who is Amaka? We say Amaka is a teacher. The novel appears interesting. The novel is a subject. Appears is the verb, and interesting is the complement. You can see if we remove interesting in the second example, we have the novel appears. So the question will not be the novel appears what? So that means the complement is necessary in the formation of the sentence. So we have the novel appears interesting. Okay, so interesting is the complement. Okay. So there are subject complements and object complements. In subject complements, the complements complete the meaning of the subject. In subject complements, the complement completes the meaning of the subject. Remember what we did in, I think this issue of subject complements came up in when I taught you phrases and clauses. An object complement means that the complement completes the meaning of the object. So in subject complements, the subject will not be complete or will not be meaningful without the complement there. And in object complements, the object will not be complete or will not be meaningful without the complement there. Okay, we have examples in subject complements. So we say he looked tired or he appears tired. He appears tired. So you can see tired complements subject. It tells us, about the subject of that sentence. He appears tired. But in object complement, we can say, we elected him our president. We elected him our president. What did we elect him as? The president. We elected him as the president. So you can see, we is the subject, elected is the verb, him is the object, even though a pronoun, okay, but the object, and our president is a complement. So we can say we elected him, what? Our president. Okay, so that's for the complement. All right, so we're moving over to the object. We've discussed subject, we've discussed verb, we've also discussed the complement. Now we have the object of the sentence. Now, what is the object of the sentence? I don't know how many of you that can still remember what we mean by the object of a sentence. Meso, can you say remember? Ijoma, what can you say about the object of the sentence? Okay. An object is any word or group of words that is directly or indirectly affected by the action of the verb. So sometimes we say, or we can say, that the object is a sufferer in a sentence. We said it's a word or a group of words. That means an object can be a noun. Okay? Yeah? It can also be a noun clause, just as you have the subject. It can also be a pronoun. Or any clause with a nominal function can function as the objects. Okay. So we have few examples there. I saw Anne. I is a subject, saw is a verb, and is the object. So here we have SVO. SVO. We don't have complements here. Okay, we have SVO, and we don't have adjuncts. So that's why I said earlier that, that SV are compulsory, others are optional. In the second example, we have I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter. We have I as a subject, wrote as a verb, a letter as the object, and an object in the first sentence is a noun, and an object in the second sentence is a noun phrase. An object could also be direct or indirect. For example, I saw Anne. We have a direct object there. So in some sentences, you can just have one object. Sometimes you can also have two objects. For example, I can say, I wrote a letter to her. I wrote a letter to her. Here we have two objects, a letter and her. So one is direct and the other one is indirect. Okay. Adjuncts. Adjuncts or adverbial. Remember I said we'll be using them interchangeably. So an adjunct performs the role of an adjective, of an adverb. It's also a word or phrase that constitutes an optional element or considered of a secondary importance in a sentence. Like I said, adjunct is optional. You can have a good sentence without seeing an adjunct in it. Okay, it performs the function as an adverb, like I said earlier. Now we have some examples on, like she sings twice in a week. She sings twice in a week. So twice is the adjunct. Okay, so that's adverb of frequency. We have B, he left yesterday. So we have he as subject, left as verb, yesterday as adjunct. So we have SVA. SVA. And our A or adjunct is yesterday. That's adverb of time. C, we left the flowers on the table. We left the flowers on the table. So here we have SVOC. Sorry, SVOA. SV, in the last sentence, C is missing. That's complement. There's no complement there. So we have we as the verb, as the subject of the sentence, left as verb, the flowers as the object, then on the table, that's adjunct, adverb of place. So, As a way of summary, we've discussed the Svcoa. Is quite a lengthy topic, but because of the nature of our lesson, I've tried to make it quite brief so that you can understand it easily. Now we have the subject as the sentence element as Svcoa. It says S is the subject, V is the verb, V is the verb. Okay, C is the complement, O is the object, and A is the adjunct. Okay. Now, our assignments, we have identified the sentence elements in the words underlined. Identify the sentence elements in the words underlined. So we have, John helped Bill in the school. I've used that as an example. In the school is adjunct. That's adverb of place. So you're now going to do the remaining 5. She sings daily. Tell us the type of sentence element we have there, whether it's S or V or C or O or A. Then we will buy a car soon. Okay? Teaching is a noble profession. The papers were destroyed. And finally, we are in the house. So we have, in the first sentence, we have daily underlined. Second sentence, we have a car underlined. Third sentence, we have teaching underlined. The fourth one, we have were destroyed underlined. And the fifth one, we have are destroyed. So you are going to tell us, just follow the example I gave to you. The first example, John helped Bill in the school. So you follow that and do the remaining 5 exercises. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being there. I hope you're safe. Keep on being safe. We pray that someday soon this will over and you return to school to have your normal lessons. Bye for now.